From Craig Rolson in Europe, David Gerber in Brazil, and our editor-in-chief and publisher, Don Oshman, it's time for this week's Sunday Night Week in Review.
And welcome to this next edition, tonight's edition of HideNet.com Week in Review Market Reports covering Latin America, Europe, and North America. In Craig's report, Craig Rolson, editor from Europe, this week, European report, writes that Irish slaughter statistics are available. They're not lower, they're available. Talks about Liqueur, the Paris show, is fully sold out for September. This old show, which has morphed into a modern event and now has drawn a lot of people, it's sold out. There's an article in this week, our European report, Craig has on Italian leather bag exports, which is interesting. Handbags, that kind of stuff, accessories in the Italian leather industry, which is still doing well. Also in Europe, which is typical for this time of year, and do the Italian vacations or all of our European vacations, trading is grinding to a halt. It's very, very slow, and people are just preparing and shutting down their operations, preparing to close for a month. That'll start around the 1st of August, or maybe in the last week of July in some cases. Tanners will stop soaking. There's some pressure as a result on abattoirs to reduce prices because the traders, the salters, aren't that anxious to buy and hold inventory. So what's not already forward sold, there's not people standing in line at the door to buy the fresh hides as there were. Not that they're giving them away, but the pressure on the abattoirs is starting to build a little bit to move product and lower prices for their fresh green hides. And as a result, most of the business that was done this week, Craig reports, were done in containerized shipments to the Far East, namely China. But selling it to Italy, they're done for the duration of the vacation. No more sales. And trying to get shipments in if you're a dealer in Europe. Craig has a very good report on the lamb and sheep market, what's going on in Spain and Europe and other places in the UK. And the veal skins are seasonally quiet. Craig delves into that and talks about what that market's doing. And basically it's a summer doldrums in Europe, which is expected and happening as it always does. In North America this week, things were kind of quiet too, although nobody shuts down for a week's vacation, but some people do take holidays. Meanwhile, the market could be called, in our opinion, firmly steady. Volume was slow, trading was slow, but again, prices didn't go down. Benchmark Texas sold on a CNF base between $109 and $111, which was interesting. Again, steady with last. They ticked up a little bit on Friday, as did other highs. The cow market seems to have stopped going down. It's not stronger, but the branded cow market, specifically where the volume is. And speaking of volume, we talk about that, how that production's down. Also, talking about exporting, the West Coast strike was threatened. It still hasn't happened. Both sides are negotiating, so hides are still being shipped out of the West Coast, which comprises, I think, over half of all American exports through those West Coast ports. Slaughter sales surpassed slaughter this week and shipments in the reporting period ending July 3rd. So sales are still going on, and the production was way down because packers closed for one day on July 4th for a holiday. So it was only really a 4-day slaughter period. As a result, I think the slaughter was around 491,000 instead of the usual below 600,000. And speaking of that, in our report we talk about projections, what the kill's going to be for the rest of the year, and it's not going to be big. The kill is down 6.6% year to date, and packers say we expect this to continue. The cattle aren't there, there's some herd rebuilding, and a lot depends on how much money packers can make when they buy the cow, take off the skin, and sell the meat. By the way, speaking of all these trends, speaking of all this information, here's the commercial. Before we get to Latin America, can you afford to be without all the information you need to operate your business? Are you paying too much? Are you selling too cheap? Do your competitors know what's going on? Do your customers know what's going on? Do other people in your company know what's going on? HideNet.com. Get a free trial. Free. If you don't like it, don't subscribe. But if you do like it and find why so many other people all over the world like it, then it'll be a big money maker for you. That's our commercial for today. Latin America, fresh green hide prices were stable, were steady, which is confounding everybody because the price of wet blue is not stronger. It's, if anything, a tad weaker. It's basically steady. So the spread between what the packer can sell his raw fresh hides for in Argentina and Brazil And what that tanner who takes that and makes crushed or wet blue, the margin, I don't know how they're doing it, but they're doing it. But they can't get the green price down, and they can't get the wet blue or crushed price up, and it's a conundrum for tanners in that part of the world. We have a Brazilian slaughter report, but also Brazilian export totals for the period, for the first quarter or for the first half. And our David Holes, who writes these reports, was in Europe for the last 2 weeks, visited a lot of his clients, and wrote a very good report about what he saw going on in Europe, not only for Brazilian product, but all tanneries. He visited a lot of people and wrote a very nice report, which is in our Latin American report this week. Also, we have lamb and sheep prices from Chile, Uruguay, and Peru, which is of interest to many people. Brazil, the market basically is $1.95, but without Italy, sales have slowed. So it's all basically the Far East. Domestic Brazilian prices, or domestic Brazilian business is slow. So there's a little underlying weakness or softness, let's say, in a TR1 wet blue price. Nobody's taken down yet, but you can't get up. And will it come down the next month? I don't know, because a lot of these tanners sold forward, but did they sell forward enough to rely on new Chinese business, which is not voluminous? So basically the undertone is a little bit softer. That's it for this week. Thank you for watching. We'll be back again next Sunday night. And again, try HideNet. It can only help. Thanks for watching. Bye.